Well, on to our spotlight then. We told you yesterday that the Enforcement Directorate was going to push for Vijay Mallya's extradition after the UK government refused to deport him. Today, the CBI has sent a request for a red corner notice against Mallya to Interpol following a request from the Enforcement Directorate. The ED is also planning to attach Mallya's domestic assets and shares worth about 9,000 crore rupees, which is what he owns to the bank, in connection with the money laundering probe in the IDBI bank loan fraud case. The ED has also informed SEBI of the move as well. And to discuss that and these today's developments and what has transpired in the case so far, I'm now joined by Rajya Sabha MP and senior advocate in the Supreme Court, KTS Tulsi, as well as eminent criminal lawyer Satish Manishinde joins me. Thank you so very much for joining us here on The Big Picture. Let me start by asking you first, Mr. Manishinde, because, you know, we had a conversation on this very show about 2 months ago, and at that point in time, you said that Vijay Mallya was well within his rights to leave the country as and when he did, because at that point, there were no cases pending against him. And you also said that, that the media shot itself in the mouth by calling him an absconder. It's been almost 2 months since we had that last conversation. Clearly, he has made absolutely no effort whatsoever to come back to India, ruling that out, saying the current environment is not conducive for him to come back. Do you still give him the benefit of the doubt, sir?
I don't give him benefit of doubt, but I conclusively say that he is well within his rights to go away from India and not come back, particularly because the agencies are hounding him for a civil liability, if any. And secondly, the media has gone overboard in painting him in dark, particularly because he was a king of good times. It's okay that he had a good time in life. He gave the best to the country. In the sense that he tried to bring in Kingfisher Airlines, which was awarded the best airline in Asia on a number of occasions, on at least 5 occasions, and he did try to give the best to the country. But unfortunately, the model on which he was probably running that business failed, and the petrol prices were too high, and therefore the airline collapsed. But I don't think that you can call it a crime, because all over the world such businesses go in loss, and they don't hound you the way the Indian government, the media, and the Enforcement Directorate is hounding him. Look at other people who have willfully defaulted.
Yes.
There's a
Absolutely.
big billionaire who is owing about 70,000 crores
Yes,
to the
sir.
banks. There's a bigger shark sitting in Gujarat who owes 72,000 crores. There's somebody in the steel industry, there's somebody in the power industry. The government of India said...
Sir, and these are names that are littered across the industry. Point taken, Mr. Manishinde. Mr. Tulsi, come in on that, sir, because, because Mr. Manishinde is indicating that, it's not fair for the government to go after Vijay Mallya the way in which it is doing. What's your view, sir? Because the government has been trying to bring him back for a long time. Do you think now with the red corner notice, indeed the government will be able to bring him back? Because the process is still very complicated from here on.
I don't think the government is intending seriously to bring him back. And the government may actually have facilitated his exit, because only weeks before he actually left, the red corner notice was withdrawn without any rhyme or reason. And thereafter, the agencies which have been doing the formalities of investigation, they actually moved the court for revoking his passport. The time when he left, one of the cases was coming up for hearing on the same day on which he left. And the other case was coming up a few days later. Now, the circumstances in which he left leave no room for doubt that he was only trying to make himself scarce for the legal proceedings. He just ran away from being held legally accountable. And merely because other people are there who owe much more and who may have committed much bigger frauds is no justification for the government not to be able to go after him. And the government is in fact not...
So you think it's justified then, sir? Absolutely. And you think it's absolutely justified for the government, for the investigative agencies to chase Vijay Mallya the way they are doing right now?
Not only do that, did they not know that a revocation of a passport, that he has another passport? Did they not know that he has a non-resident Indian status? And then what is the use of cancellation of passport, mere cancellation of passport? They just giving him time to organize all
Right.
his affairs. I don't understand why the government would not go after the United Breweries, because that has a valuation of 12 billion. Why is that property
Right.
not being attached? Otherwise, all the monies
Okay.
will go out, and the government will be able to get nothing.
Right. Mr. Tulsi, let me ask you one more question before I again throw it back to Mr. Manishinde. Now, you're indicating then perhaps that government may have erred in its strategy to basically bring back Vijay Mallya, or at least to recover the outstanding loan amount. But tell us, sir, now with today's development, the red corner notice, how realistic is it to bring him back? Because so far, ED has not even filed a charge sheet. And to actually bring him back, you also need supporting documents. So in that sense, considering that just yesterday or day before UK had refused his deportation, how realistic do you think are the chances of bringing him back now with this red corner notice on the table?
I think chances of bringing him back are next to nil, with the government doing only the pretense of an exercise to bring him back. There is nothing which is going to happen, and I really think that extradition, you require to satisfy the British courts about the seriousness, and we don't have that evidence as of now. So I don't know how and when he will ever be brought back. I have not much hope that the government will go after him with all seriousness.
Right. So let us just entertain Mr. Manishande's point, which is the fact that he is not a criminal. There are also others in the system who have also defaulted, and in fact defaulted on much larger sums of money than Vijay Mallya. And because even the government has labeled him as a fugitive from justice. But the fact is, here's a man, we know his business collapsed. Here's a man who's willing to pay back around 6,000 crore rupees out of the 9,000 crore rupees that he owes to the banks. Can he really be labeled as a fugitive, as a criminal, and an issue, a red corner notice against him?
I'm sorry, the allegations against him are of siphoning off huge amount of money, which he took for a particular purpose, and then it was used for acquiring properties elsewhere. Now, if there is a case against me of rape, and I say there are 100 other rapists, why don't you get them? Do I get
But sir,
an
the
immunity?
Enforcement Directorate has not. But sir, the Enforcement Directorate has not filed a charge sheet yet, which is what the counsel on the other side, Vijay Mallya's side, says.
Well, even if the charge sheet is not filed, they wanted him to be here for the purpose of effective inquiry, and he chose to run away. Now, how is the inquiry going to take place? I don't think the government is serious enough. But this is no excuse for saying that other people have committed worse crimes. That's not the charter of innocence. Because other people have committed worse crimes, therefore you get a license to commit crimes. No, that's not it. Whoever gets caught is going to have to be punished and dealt with in accordance with law.
Just one final question then to you, sir, Mr. Tulsi, before we say goodbye to you. A word also on the banks, because all the focus has been on Vijay Mallya. What about the bank's own role? Because in this case, some bankers have said off record that they actually gave the loan because of Vijay Mallya, the personality and this big industrialist that he was. Why didn't banks have these early warning systems that actually rung, at some point, and why did the banks take so long to actually step in and recover the money? So a word on the banks, sir.
Of course, public sector banks are also far more negligent because of the lack of accountability, and all that they do is they form a consortium. Now, a consortium of one bank will involve 6 others, and 7 will decide collectively, and then they hope that their accountability will get diluted. In this case, there was a consortium of perhaps 15 or 16 banks. And the whole thing gets, merely because we have so many major bank frauds which go unpunished, there's no reason for everyone to claim that I'm also entitled not to be punished.
Right. Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Tulsi, for joining us. Unfortunately, we lost the line there with Mr. Manishinde. We'll try and connect with him soon. But of course, role of the banks is now in the spotlight today. The RBI also came out with a paper. But I think we've got Mr. Manishinde back. Sorry, sir, we lost you for a bit there. But just tell us, sir, now in terms of the legal options, what are the options in front of Vijay Mallya? Tell us that, sir.
See, first of all, one has to realize that Vijay Mallya has always been under legal advice. Even before he left the country on the 2nd of March, he has consulted a number of lawyers. He has still been in consultation with the lawyers, and I can assure you that he is in touch with the best lawyers in the country. He has got the best lawyers in the UK. And the red corner alert, first of all, has no value because there is no case pending in any court of law. Before it is activated, the Interpol in France is going to ask for legally admissible evidence to, execute such a warrant all over the world. And Mallya, knowing fully well that his liberty is in danger if he leaves Britain, he is not likely to leave UK or any of its territories. And he is well under protection of the British laws, and because the British authorities have communicated to our country that deportation is impossible, and for an extradition proceeding to take place, there has to be a pending charge sheet in a court of law, which has to be, through the External Affairs Ministry sent to the UK, and thereafter a notice would be issued to Vijay Mallya to face the extradition proceedings, provided the crime which is alleged against him in India is punishable in the UK. As far as I know, this is not an extraditable offense because money laundering, according to the Indian government, it cannot be proved because Vijay Mallya has sworn an affidavit before the Supreme Court that not a single property of his has been purchased by any of the monies which was, loaned to
Absolutely,
him by
sir.
the Indian
And in
bank.
fact, that's also a point that I was trying to make earlier, that ED
have been utilized by him for his personal purpose.
Yes. That is why, sir. And in fact, that's a charge ED has made. But however, they have not filed a charge sheet yet. And therefore, that is where questions arise in terms of how easily or not will the Indian government be able to bring him back. But sir, tell me one thing. Let me ask you a very plain question. Do you think that banks are also being a bit unreasonable now here? Because Vijay Mallya, at least, according to what he has said, he has agreed to pay back about 6,000 crore rupees out of the 9,000 crore rupees that he owes to the bank. So in that sense, sir, do you think banks now should accept that offer, or have they personalized the issue?
You see, first of all, the loan that was given to Vijay Mallya was about 7,000 crores. Vijay Mallya has now come forward to pay 6,886 crores to the government of India, which is almost 99% of the loan that he had obtained. So I don't see why the banks are not accepting it, because I myself have settled a large number of claims of my clients through the banks at 50% of the price, 50% of the original loan amount. The interest has been waived in a large number of cases. These cases have gone up to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court accepted such a settlement. Even in, it's a reported judgment in Nikhil Merchant's case where it was utilized. So I don't see any reason why the banks do not want to accept such a settlement, particularly when 99% of the loan amount is being returned, and Mallya has made it good that he is going to settle 4,000 crores by the securities which are lying with the banks and in the courts, and 4,000 crores will be deposited by him, or 2,000 crores will be 2,500 crores will be deposited by him by sale of shares. So I don't see any reason why the banks are not accepting it, unless the banks are scared that Vijay Mallya will come to the country and expose the banking system, the manner in which his brand was valued at 4,000 crores, when it is not even fetching a rupee today in the Indian market.
Well, thank you very much for your take there, Mr. Manish Shinde. Clearly, we have not heard the last of this story. But thank you. Appreciate you joining us here on The Big Picture.